Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
You are listening to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And I'm Alanna.
I'm Kelsey.
And it's October still. Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So I can hit you with a fun, freaky fact.
Ooh, yeah. Yes,
I've got
please.
some darker themed ones.
Okay.
I will be using some of them on the Tiki-Taki. Which,
Yeah.
by the time
Tell
you're
us about
listening to
that.
this, yes, when this drops, the first video will be out.
Okay.
Go watch it. It'll be like watching your mom try and do a TikTok. It's so great. It's so cringe.
I love it.
I don't know how to green screen my background anything yet. I'm sorry.
I think I saw it on the drive and I was like, what is this? It was like take one, Friday. I was like, what? What's she putting on the drive?
I like to do things on the desktop version. So yeah. And that's where I'm signed into my Castles and Cryptids TikTok.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Our Castles and Cryptids TikTok, to be fair.
I promise you, unless you're holding the camera, I probably will never see any of it. I am not on TikTok. So.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yes, I'm always holding my phone camera anyway. Until that craps out on me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one. Let's do this next one. I mean next, because it's on the list after the one that I did on the video. So ancient Romans believed that drinking blood would let them absorb power.
Gross.
I guess. Yeah. I don't think I knew that. Sounds very vampiric.
Yeah, and like, don't you catch a bunch of diseases that way? Like hepatitis and everything is like,
They wouldn't have known
yeah.
at this
Okay.
time.
Oh, I hate it.
Like about the dangers anyway. It says briefly that blood transfusion was a popular practice in ancient Rome, and during gladiator games at the Colosseum, members of the audience would rush into the field to ravage the blood off of fallen gladiators. Cuz
Oh.
yep, they believed that in drinking the blood of fallen warriors, they would too absorb the warriors' powers and skills.
Ugh, that must be so gnarly to see like a whole stadium of people like rushing a football game, but they're rushing like a dead body to try and drink its blood.
Yeah,
Like
when you say a
what?
whole stadium, I
Eh,
picture like World War Z mounts of
yeah.
hordes of running zombies,
Ugh.
but they're acting more like vampires. Weird, very weird.
Oh.
Yeah, because
Wow. I
yeah,
thought I
I
had
found
heard before about them using, was it something like gladiator sweat
yeah.
was being sold as like cologne or something? Have you
Oh,
heard about that before?
I don't
Maybe it
think
was made
so.
up. Yeah, I feel like I heard
I
that in
believe it.
something because they thought like they were so like manly, that kind of thing, that like you wore their
Well,
scent as cologne and everything, like their
right.
sweat. Like, oh,
Right. I wonder if that's anything to do with the whole literal animal magnetism kind of like
maybe.
theory that I think this one guy had. But like pheromones are totally a thing. Um
Yes.
Actually, it reminds me we were just recently watching the Oceans movies, Oceans 11, 12,
Oh,
13 because I love
yeah.
them. I
They're
think Kat put
good.
them on, but I was like, I'm
Nice.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I said I wanted to watch them again. Whatever. In like the second one, yeah, Matt Damon is playing a character where he's wearing like this fake nose and stuff, and he has to talk to this the hotel like she's like the second in command for the hotel. She's played
Hmm.
by, oh fuck, now I'm trying to think of that actress's name. Um anyway, it doesn't really matter. But she and he like they send him in with like extra pheromones because it's, oh, now we have to seduce her so we can get close to like the diamonds and whatever. And he's like,
Oh,
you
okay.
can't, you don't just think I can do it on my own? You don't think Rusty's got it on his own? Like, and they're like, no, we're gonna give you this extra like. And then it shows where she, as soon as she smells it on him, then she's immediately like, oh, like immediately affected and stuff. It's pretty funny, but
I mean, is there anything better than just a great smelling guy? Come on.
no, no.
It's
You gotta
it's
be like,
great.
what are you wearing? You smell awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And scent
Yeah,
is
guys,
tied to
take
like
note.
memory.
Like
Yeah.
make sure you're showering frequently and wearing like
I
deodorant
know.
and shit. Cause some of you all
I
smell
think the guys that
terrible.
listen to this do. I think they
I
do.
hope so.
They seem
We'll
like
have a
nice
poll.
people. All
What
the
is
ones that
our
I
male
know
listener
are.
hygiene like?
My brother's a clean freak, so he will
Okay.
tip the scales in that favor.
That's good.
Let's
Yeah.
see. I can't speak for the rest of them personally, per se, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah,
anyway. I
that's
got
really
some.
weird.
Yeah, I have some just from like facts.net. So that
Cool.
those will be the ones we'll be using for our October. Our October, dude. That came out
Cool
awesome.
story,
That
bro.
came out so weird. I was listening to someone do an impression of Owen Wilson doing
Wow.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Wait, Owen Wilson
Kanoe?
as I can't
Kanoe.
talk.
Kenobi?
Kenobi. No, it was a TikTok, and the guy's like, "Okay, this is my Owen Wilson as Obi-Wan Kenobi." It was actually pretty good.
Sweet. I have to go back. I think I've seen all the, other than the new, I've seen all the old Star Wars movies at least once. I
Oh,
don't
Star Wars, yeah.
really I don't really remember them. Now that I have Disney Plus though, they're on my list. I am gonna go back and like properly watch
Oh my
them
God. You
as
got
an
Star Wars
adult.
on there? I didn't know if you were going to talk about watching
Yeah.
Owen Wilson movies because he's also in
Mm.
is it Disney I'm thinking he's in?
Loki.
Yeah, he's in Loki. And
I
then we
have
also
that on my
just watched the
list because I
Okay.
haven't seen
Oh,
any of it
so
yet,
good.
but I love Tom Hiddleston, so that's happening.
Oh, oh
And
yeah.
I miss Loki being in the Marvel universe as
Oh, it's
much. So
great. Soundtrack's great. Theme music always gets
sweet.
stuck in my head.
Oh, I'm
Um
excited.
yeah. Also, he was in, or not Tom Hiddleston, but just to clarify, Owen Wilson and a bunch of people were in the Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus, which is
Oh
just
yeah.
a show about like, I know it's a
Yeah.
show about like the ride, but it was like really good. It was really well done. Rain enjoyed it. She was like, these ghosts are just kind of fun.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I don't
Yeah.
think I saw the original one, but
I didn't know there was an original. It suggested it after we
oh,
got done watching the first one. Yeah.
oh, yeah. Wasn't it like Eddie Murphy and everything in it?
That's who it looked like. I was like,
Yeah. I'm
what?
pretty sure I saw that one at some point when I was
Yeah.
younger. I don't really remember it,
It looks like it might
but
have come out in the 90s, like the late
something like
90s
that.
or
Yeah.
yeah, early 2000s maybe. It's got that kind of vibe. I
Yeah,
guess
the
I'm not much
classic
of like
Disney.
yeah, which I didn't watch much. Did we have Disney? I don't know. Disney XD now is very cool, I think, but
Hmm.
um we watched what is it? It's in Canada, YTV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
YTV.
Yeah, we
I
watched
watched
YTV.
like Teletoon and
Yeah. Thing it's similar to the
yeah.
Cartoon Network, yeah, but that one's like
Yeah.
mostly kid friendly ones. But yeah, they're kind of sort of edgy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho's it. Um Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're
Almost the
recording this on
weekend.
Thanksgiving. Canadian Thanksgiving, we should clarify. Because American Thanksgiving's in November? Is that
Yeah,
right?
people would probably be like, "What?" if they're listening in America and they're just a little bit confused. But yeah, we didn't really do anything. We did some munchies with our D&D crew last night, and
Nice.
um, uh, our friend Mark, who brought the dessert or whatever, he uh they brought out this like cake or whatever. It was like, oh, and he's like, I got them to write something on it, and we're like, okay. And then it comes out and it's got like our adventure party's name on it. It's like
Aw, cool.
Belladonna and the Phantasmals 3. I was like, oh my god. That's cute. I'm like
Nice.
I'm like, how did they like writing that on the cake? He's like, I was just like, can I write it down for you guys, please?
Yeah,
They're probably like, huh?
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was fun, but we didn't like do big turkey or nothing. How about you?
We had turkey stuffing. My mom cooks a lot of it the day before now, so it's
Yeah.
mostly like reheating the day of. And yeah, we just had like a smaller kind of family thing, and then um
Nice.
yeah, we just watched like a couple movies and just hung out. It was pretty
Mhm.
relaxed. Um
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, it was nice
Yeah.
though.
I should probably call my family. But I love them as I know they're listening. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. My brother texted me. I know I've talked to someone. He always texts me when the new episode is out.
Aw.
Yeah. And I was going, he's like, oh, the people you covered were horrible. And at first I was going, what the fuck
What people?
case?
Yeah.
Well, because I wasn't a true crime episode, but then I was because I talked about the Burkers, and I was like, because I went, oh
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
oh wait, the backbreakers. I had to like go, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
And I looked it up after, and it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It's Simon Pegg and
No.
uh oh shit, I forget his name. And Andy something, the one that plays
Sandberg?
no, Smeagol and does all the motion captions, capture
Oh,
stuff.
I'll
Yeah, that
look
guy.
him up because I should know his name.
I'm just so used to Nick Frost and Simon Pegg being in everything together. I thought it was the two of them.
I'm sorry, what was the movie called again?
Um,
Sorry.
Burke and Hare.
Oh, that's what. Okay, right. Oh, Circus. Yeah, spelled with an S, but Circus. Andy
Yeah,
Circus. He plays William Hare. Okay.
yeah.
And Simon Pegg. All right, all right. Never seen it, but be on the
I can
lookout.
lend it to you if you want. I remember it being pretty
Oh.
good, but I think I spent like $28 on it
All
because
right.
I had to special order it to my work. So I don't know if it was worth that amount of money, but I thought,
Perhaps another Halloween night viewing or something.
yeah.
Yeah. That's always the thing too with Halloween with us now. It's like, what do we do with the dog? We were almost like talking
Mm,
about how people like sit out on the porch and do it. And I was like, I wonder if that would annoy the dog less than people coming up to the door every time. But who knows? But if it stays this nice out,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
It's
what, I will
been
be
really.
having a glass of wine or two that night because it will be the end of October. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just saying, yeah, it's been really nice lately here.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Um What have you got to tell us today? I don't even want to tell what episode it is because I always get it wrong.
It's episode 121. We decided to like revisit, I guess you'd call, like kind of occult crimes. We kind of covered this, I guess, a little bit previously. We did some like what did we do? Like some paranormal, like true crime episodes, and we've done some
ritualistic killings, I think was
that
one.
one. And then
Yeah.
we did just cult crimes, I think. That was like a separate episode. So we've done kind
It's
of
hard to remember now.
yeah,
We've
I
had
ended up
over
having to go
100.
back in our like episode list and I was like, "Oh, we did ritualistic ones." So that was like kind of this. Yeah.
Sort of, but who knows? There's so many out there. It's like,
Yeah.
mine's kind of out there, and well, I'm excited to hear what you got too. So,
I did one that's actually been on my list since almost the very beginning. It's something that I find interesting whenever I hear somebody talk about it.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's on your actual list. I don't have like an actual physical written down list of ones I want to do.
I do, because I don't know, sometimes when I just run across something, I'm like, oh, I gotta add that to my list just so you don't forget about it or
I suppose
anything.
I might have some mini
So,
ones on some random post-its, just not very
yeah.
organized. Topic
Um,
ideas.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have like a one list that's like topic and episode ideas, and then a separate list that's like specific cases for either like paranormal or like true crime that I want to do. So this was definitely on I think I had it on like my true crime list, but it definitely is kind of occulty. So it all kind of centers around a question. It's a very, very popular case. I feel like it's covered all the time, but it's been plaguing this rural England town, I think it is, for like 80 some years. And the question is, who put Bella in the Wych Elm? Because I love, yeah,
I have
like
heard
this
of
one.
this. It has a cool sounding name, which makes me always remember it.
Yeah, I like all the mystery surrounding it because we don't really know like what happened, and for like 80 years this kind of like weirdness has been going on that nobody's ever really been able to figure out.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
I thought it was fun. So yeah, it's like rural England. It all started in 1943 when these four boys named Robert Hart, Thomas Willets, Bob Farmer, and Fred Payne from Stourbridge in like rural England.
Good old Stourbridge.
Yeah. It was called Stourbridge at the time.
Okay.
Oh, maybe that's what it's called now. It says in what was then called Worcestershire. That word. Worcestershire.
Worcester sauce.
Yeah.
Sauce.
Oh,
damn.
Sauce. Yeah.
That's so fun. I kept slipping into like an English accent a couple times. And they were like, "Is that your character voice now?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what's gonna come out sometimes. I don't know if I can stick to something. It's like so much pressure."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these four boys were out hunting and poaching on private property, and
that's not good.
They were near Witchbury Hill in the Hagley Woods. So the private property they were on, my understanding, was belonged to the Hagley family. So it's called like the Hagley Woods.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like the woods kind of surrounding their property, sorry. And Bob Farmer, I think it was, he decided to scale this large, old wych elm tree to try and get at some birds' eggs. And it was about halfway up when he ended up making this grisly discovery. So at first he saw this like hollow inside the tree, like the trunk of the tree, and he found this human skeleton that looked like it had been jammed inside.
Oh,
And
can you imagine?
I'd be horrified. I can't.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't condone him going up there to grab the eggs. That's
No, because
not.
that's also a bit gross. Said they were like teenagers. I think something said
Uh,
maybe one of the boys was like 16. Yeah. So at first he saw the skull and thought maybe it was just part of an animal, like maybe some animal bones, but then that's when he saw the human hair and teeth. Um I have like a little quote from him said there was a small patch of rotting flesh on the forehead with lank hair attached to it, and the two front teeth were crooked, said he later recalled. So I think he got interviewed by like different newspapers maybe later on about what happened.
okay, and he
But
recalled a lot of detail. Yeah.
yeah. Um so because the boys were actually on the land illegally, and Bob Farmer ended up putting the skull back, and all four boys ended up returning home without really mentioning it to anyone. They kind of decided to keep it a secret.
Ugh,
Yeah.
boys, just kids,
Yeah.
really. I mean, yeah.
Later that night, one of the boys felt uneasy about not saying anything to anybody, and he ended up telling his parents. So
Mhm.
after he told the parents, the authorities were notified. Some stuff said that like they contacted and one of the kids was able to lead them back to the tree, and that's when they found like this almost complete skeleton that was jammed inside, and it like obviously was human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the skeleton was all that remained of a woman who had been lodged inside of this tree, and they estimated she was put there about 18 months before, so that would have been uh sometime in 1941,
Okay. In the
probably late
40s.
1941, I think. And uh
People were probably a little distracted at the time.
yeah, they did talk about with the wars going on. It was like a lot
Yeah.
with like missing people to try and identify the remains.
Right.
Yeah. On the 24th of April 1943, the Hartlepool Northern Daily Mail published a hypothesized description of the woman's appearance prior to her death. And um, this description read her age has been given between 25 and 40, most probably 35, like years old. Height 5 feet, with light brown hair, and dressed in dark blue and mustard colored striped cardigan and mustard colored skirt. Blue crepe soled shoes, size 5.5. So like that's pretty small.
Mm-hmm. That is small.
And all the garments were described as poor quality, and uh, the thing that they published in the newspaper saying a wedding ring was found among the bones, and it was made of rolled gold, probably worth two. It said 2/6 today, so that was in 1943. So I don't really, maybe $2 to $6 they mean today, or pounds, probably pounds.
Mm.
Some
Yeah, it was
stuff
worth
said that,
something.
well, some stuff
Gold.
said that the wedding ring was fake. Some of the
Oh,
things said, so I don't really know
interesting.
about that one. Yeah. Um, it said, like, just continuing, they kind of talked saying that the skull was the most valuable piece of the remains that they found because of the hair, and especially the teeth
Oh,
enabled them to get a clear dental pattern despite some of the teeth being missing. Because obviously at the time they don't have DNA or anything like that to like do anything
yeah.
with. So I think they rely pretty heavily on dental records for identifying people around this time.
Right.
and like clothing descriptions, so that's probably why they released that information.
Yeah, you can only tell so much from the bones. That's probably where they got the age and the
Yeah.
general age and stuff.
Yeah. The body was sent for this forensic examination, and there was a pathologist, James Webster, who quickly confirmed that obviously it was female remains. He confirmed was the one that said like she probably died 18 months before she was found, and he also found a section of taffeta from her skirt that had been shoved inside of her mouth. I don't know like how
Um,
far, but yeah, that was like lodged in her throat. This led him to believe that she had died from suffocation. Like not
hmm.
yeah, but obviously like with the remains the way they were basically like skeletonized. It like we it'd be hard to say if there wasn't other wounds, but
Yeah, it just makes me think that like she was gagged at some point.
yeah, it seems likely. So the four boys who discovered the woman's body said that they had wrapped some cloth around a stick and wedged it into her mouth when they had actually been like putting the skull back. How they had like picked up the skull and like put it back. It said that they were
Oh,
like shoving it down, and that's when that taffeta or whatever may have been there.
what?
I just wanted to mention that because some sources say like one way or the other.
Oh no. Yeah, that would be like
Yeah.
really important if that was just contamination.
Yeah, like it happened
Hmm.
at the end. From the measurements of her body and those of the actual tree trunk that she was found in, that pathologist determined that she must have been placed in the tree fairly soon after her time of death, as she would not have been able
Okay.
to be like put or jammed into that space once rigor mortis had started. Um,
Right. It looks
yeah.
so stiff.
Mm-hmm. And Professor
Dang.
Webster's findings made him certain that the death of this unknown woman was murder, stating, I think, oh, the rest of this is quite a number of quotes that he was kind of talking about the same thing, saying, I cannot imagine a woman accidentally slipping in there. Neither do I think it's reasonable for a woman to crawl into that place to commit suicide. I can't imagine
No.
a person getting into the tree voluntarily. Even a small person like this could not have gotten in without doing herself considerable amount of tearing. Um, in
Ouch. Well,
another,
yeah. It's
yeah,
very, very pointy looking.
yeah, there'll be pictures on the website, but I do have pictures on the drive because I feel like looking at the picture of the tree has just always fascinated me. Like it's just the most crazy looking tree I can comprehend existing, and
Right. Oh, with a name like Wych Elm, you're like, dang.
yeah.
Yeah, because like some
Um,
trees have like more magical qualities or they're known for this or that, like rowan trees and
yeah.
different ones. I can't remember, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's certainly significant, I'm sure.
Another quote he had was just saying that it was an excellent place for the concealment of a murder, and that he thought it indicated local knowledge. Like for you to go on private property and hide somebody inside of a tree is like
Yeah,
maybe not somebody that's like passing through town to like know that that would be a good spot to hide a body or that like that spot would be
right.
available. Yeah. So police looking for more information and like clues, they searched the area around the tree and were able to locate multiple bones that they said belonged to a human hand that had been scattered around the tree. Um there's some variations to this. Some things say that it was one of her hands that had been severed that was like found near the tree and not like and then some stuff says that the bones were scattered and they think it was animals that's kind of scattered the hand bones around
Okay.
the tree. Other things say that like her hand was found intact, like 50 feet or so from the tree. Uh,
Holy
yeah, it's kind of,
conflicting reports.
yeah. Um, but pretty well everything kind of agrees that like one of her hands was found somewhere in the vicinity of the tree, not with the rest of her body. And that is kind of strange. It led some to believe that there was some sort of occult involvement in this woman's death. most things pointing to what's described as a hand of glory, which I had
Oh.
heard of. Probably the closest variation I had prior knowledge of was like they call it the monkey's paw, I think, where you're supposed to get like 3 wishes kind of shit. Um
Right. Don't they
yeah.
have? I thought they had one in that occult shop in Harry Potter, but I could be wrong. We
I
also
think
just watched a
so.
horror movie where there was like a severed
Oh,
hand
Talk to Me.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I haven't
was
watched
pretty
it yet,
good.
but I saw the some stuff about it.
Oh,
Um
okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
yeah. So a hand of glory is like an old European belief that involves the removal of a hanged criminal's hand, and it's supposed
Oh,
to be the
gross.
hand that specifically committed the crime, like that they were being
Okay.
hanged for. And that I think it has to be either the hand has to be removed or the hanging has to have happened during a lunar eclipse. This like statement isn't very
Oh.
clear, but there is apparently possibly the world's only hand of glory that's ever been like confirmed to be like real. Did I keep this in
Okay.
my notes? I don't think I did. It's somewhere. It's on display in like
Let
a
me.
museum or
I think
something.
there's like a museum of, yeah, the occult or yeah, something like that. So that wouldn't surprise me, but that's
Yeah.
creepy.
It came up a few times. And it also tells you like something from like the 1940s or early 1900s described exactly like the steps involved of like getting a proper hand of glory, and I was like, I don't think I need to include this. Uh but so that could have been what was
Wow.
going on with this. Um the next thing is you kind of brought up like because the war was going on at the time, they were trying to cross-reference the details of the clothing with some like maybe missing persons reports in the region, but there was just too many people registered missing in the UK at the time, for them
Right.
to, yeah, it was just there was so much going on. So they tried, instead of going that route, they did try with these crepe soled shoes that she was wearing. They
Oh,
were
right.
traced.
Her pancake shoes. No.
Yeah, I don't know what
Crepe.
crepe soled shoes. I don't know what that
I'm
means.
not good at like different material types. I have like a general idea. It's
Neither
probably
do
something
I.
that like wrinkles pretty easily would
Fucking,
be
I have
my
no idea.
guess.
I could have very easily Googled this beforehand, but I just ran out of time.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure it was a common shoe type in the day.
yeah.
Right.
They were traced to this Waterfoot company in Lancashire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what it looks like. So they did trace it to there. It seems like that's where it was made, and investigators were able to find the owners of all but 6 of these pairs of shoes that were sold. Um,
Wow.
yeah, sales records and receipt keeping must have been intense. Um, they
They
had
had
been
the
all
receipts.
Yeah, they really did. They had all been sold from a market stall in Dudley, a small town approximately 11 miles or 18 kilometers from Birmingham.
Yeah.
So they then tried the same with these dental impressions that they had taken from the skeleton, to try and find her identity that way. But police were never actually able to figure out who the remains belonged to and like put this identity to the skeleton that was found in the Wych Elm.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Um the next kind of strange thing, so the case kind of like peters out after that, and then in
Peters.
1944 1944 the case takes an even stranger turn, I guess, when all this bizarre graffiti starts to appear painted on various walls in Birmingham.
Oh,
Um
okay.
as far as I could tell, the first time it was put up, it appeared 6 months after the boys found the remains, and what was put up said, "Who put Lubella down the Wych Elm?" Um,
Oh,
yeah, I think that was the first
interesting.
time it appeared. That's what it said. Um,
Right, like maybe it was just like the first time and a newspaper said it or something and then it just stuck.
yeah. So at
Okay.
this point, they hadn't identified any of the remains. They just knew it belonged to a woman. So they basically, like, they kind of decided whoever had made this graffiti maybe knew more about the case, because they had named, like, the person Lubella. And
Right.
yeah, so the police at the time, like, they had no leads. They started looking down this road trying to confirm, like, maybe her identity is Bella or Lubella. And this message continues to reappear every once in a while, slightly differently. Some variations I saw were like, "Who put Bella down the Wych Elm? Hagley Wood." Like it was signed Hagley Wood. Um,
Oh.
and then over and over again painted on walls. I think nowadays the last time it keeps showing up is who put Bella in the Wych Elm. So it's a little bit different because it used to say who put Bella down the Wych Elm, and then witch has also been spelled like Witach when the Wych Elm tree is spelled Wych.
Right, with a
So
Y.
yeah,
A lot of
there's been
variations.
a lot of variations. Almost every time it appears, it's like different. Um, but it's appeared over and over again over the last 80 years, basically. It's been painted on walls, tombstones, and even trees in the vicinity of Storebridge. So,
It's really
um,
weird.
yeah. One thing I found, which was kind of cool, it said, according to the Evening Dispatch on March 30th, 1944, I think this is a newspaper. They said, quote, "The writing was too high on the wall to have been done by boys, and the police were inclined to view that this is the work of someone coming into the city early in the morning with farm produce." So I was like,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, so they have reason to believe it's not kids like playing a joke. It's more
Right.
likely to be an adult because of how high it is on the wall, and it's being done in the very early mornings, maybe before most people are awake.
Right. I mean, it's a theory.
From what I could gather, the last time it appeared was like the graffiti did was recorded in 1999 when it was written on a 200-year-old obelisk.
Oh, that's not
Yeah,
very nice.
I know. I was like, don't love that. It sounds like though
Yeah.
since then it's remained on there, like nobody has painted over it.
Huh.
Um,
It's just like, are you just hearing about it and then keeping the trend going? Just,
yeah. It said those responsible for the original graffiti done in like 1944 were never identified. And with
mm-hmm.
both the identity of the remains and the reason for these random vandalism acts like popping up, there remain many unanswered questions over the last 80 years, which has led us to several theories about what actually happened.
Bum, bum, bum,
Um,
bum.
bum, bum, bum. Yeah, these are all kind of like interesting theories. They actually had pretty good write-ups. Um, weirdly enough, from Wikipedia. Like it had some
Mm,
good stuff, so I decided to copy the theories from there.
that was a real
Um,
good jumping off point for mine too, like for
yeah.
what few sources there were too.
So yeah, this is from Wikipedia and like their theories section. There's
Okay.
quite a number of theories. They all share kind of like different similarities. It said in a Radio 4 program first broadcast in August of 2014, Steve Punt suggested two possible victims. One victim was reported to the police in 1944 by a Birmingham sex worker. In the report, she stated that another sex worker called Bella, who worked on the Hagley Road, had disappeared about 3 years previously, and the name Bella or Lou Bella suggested the graffiti writer was probably aware of the identity of the victim.
Okay, it's adding up. Like somebody
Yeah,
knew
like that's one of the
someone.
theories that involved
Yeah.
like a sex worker. A second possibility or theory came from a statement that was made to police in 1953 by Una Mossop, in which she said that her ex-husband, Jack Mossop, had confessed to family members that he and a Dutchman called Van Ralt had put the woman in the tree. Mossop
Okay.
and right? Just getting drunk at a bar and just like, I'm gonna start confessing about shoving women in trees.
Right. And she's like, and that's why he's my ex.
Yeah. Mossop and Van Ralt met for a drink at the Lyttelton Arms, which was a pub in Hagley. Later that night, Mossop said the woman became drunk and passed out when they were driving. The men put her in a hollow tree in the woods in the hope that in the morning she would wake up and be frightened into seeing the error of her ways.
What the
And
fuck?
don't drink,
No.
women, you'll wake up in a tree. What the fuck? Jack
Oh my god.
Jack Mossop was actually confined to a Stafford mental hospital because he had reoccurring dreams of a woman staring out at him from a tree. Um, which
This is the lady's ex, the Jack guy?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Ouch. Weird.
And like this was talked about in multiple sources. Like it's basically confirmed this happened to him. He talked about this. He
Huh.
died in the hospital before the body in the Wych Elm was ever even found. But the likelihood of this being the correct explanation is questioned because Una Mossop did not come forward with this information until more than 10 years after Jack Mossop's death. Um, and almost,
Right.
what, about 9 years? Or, no, about basically 10 years after the remains were found. So,
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
why now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just looking for attention or what?
Yeah. The third popular theory comes from an MI5 declassified file about Joseph Jacobs. Uh,
Declassified? Damn.
yeah. He was the last man to be put to death in the Tower of London on the 15th of August, 1941. He was an Abwehr agent.
Hmm.
He
I don't know.
parachuted into Cambridgeshire in 1941 but broke his ankle on landing and was soon arrested by the Home Guard. On his person, they found a photograph purportedly of his lover, a German cabaret singer and actress named Clara Bowerly.
Amazing.
Jacob said that she was being trained as a spy and that he had made and that had he made contact, she might have been sent over to England after him. However, there is no evidence that Clara Bowerly was parachuted into England, as no chute was ever found at the scene. Several witnesses
Wait, she was
described.
supposed to have parachuted?
I think if he like had landed and hadn't been arrested, he would have like radioed back that he landed safely, and then she would have parachuted in. But because he
Oh,
didn't have a chance to radio back, she never actually did.
okay. Sorry. I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
this
what
one's
did
a
I
little
miss?
confusing. Like I know they talk about because I heard about this case on the BuzzFeed Unsolved channel. That's I think where I first heard about it.
Ooh,
I
cool.
do remember this being one of my favorite theories at the time. I think they had a bit more information about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, so it's either a cult or she's a spy. Like both those options are so cool. Uh
Yeah, they go like it's not it's fun when the theories go kind of hard in different
yeah.
directions.
But their thing was that she basically parachuted and like landed inside the tree. And I was like, but how likely is that? It's like I don't know. Or she
Um,
had to like force herself into the tree because after he was caught or something. They had been pursuing her, and she thought it looked like it, because it was so thick, it looked like a good hiding spot. So she like jammed herself in the tree and then got stuck. Yeah, it
I
was a
know. I
little
find them
weird.
I find them hard to fathom. Like
Yeah, like
people
none of
definitely
these
get
are
caught in a
great.
tree
Yeah,
parachuting. There was like that guy on like Lost, I think it was, where the guy gets stuck in the parachute and they're like, "Oh, he's going to be alive." No.
I
But like
don't
right
remember.
into
It's
the
been so long. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I misremember everything too. But yeah, it just seems like yeah, it stuck into a knot in a tree, like not
yeah,
through a branch or on top of it,
yeah.
or I don't know. Weird.
Um, yeah, so no shoot was like found at the scene, and several witnesses described that Clara Bowerly was around 6 feet tall. So not the 5 feet that the remains were, like a
Oh
full foot
no.
taller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it said in December 2016, from the Wikipedia, it said it was determined that Clara Bowerly had died in Berlin on December 16th, 1942. So like almost 2 full years before um the remains had happened, but because
Okay.
they think the woman was killed in 1941, I think it works out too. So she died like a year
Mm,
later. So yeah,
right.
unlikely that it's her, but that's one of the more popular theories still.
Yeah, it sounds like the timeline's not like exactly stamped down in concrete either,
Yeah,
so
like none of these are great. Um,
we'll never
another one
know. No.
Yeah, another one's that in 1945, Margaret Murray, an anthropologist and ar- archaeologist, uh, at University College London, proposed a more radical theory, witchcraft, because she believed that the severing of one hand was consistent with a ritual called the Hand of Glory.
Right.
um,
Okay.
After the victim had been killed by Romani people during an occult ritual, her ideas, yeah, like she'd been killed. Her ideas excited the local press and led investigators to consider another seemingly ritualistic killing of a man, which is the one I talked to you about when I said, like, asked you, have you covered this case before? Um,
Yeah.
because it's tied with this theory, like the Hand of Glory thing. It's actually tied to case you talked about. Which episode did you say it was? Your
The
you
UK, this episode is dodgy. Or
This episode is dodgy.
is
Okay,
that what this is called?
I can't remember. It was
UK crimes. It's
yeah
like in the 20s or something. So yeah,
oh,
I'll
okay.
double check. I'll double check. But yes, I remember
um
because it's the old guy get
yeah,
killed
Charles
violently with the
Bolton.
pitchfork. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was actually killed in the neighboring town of Warwickshire. Warwick were
No, I think sure is right.
Warwickshire. I'm like, all my things had three W's. Warwick were,
Oh
I don't know.
no.
Yeah. It said there the death of Charles Walton. Um, a suspected warlock had just happened. Um, and
Suspected warlock. Okay, right.
yeah, Walton died after being slashed with a bill hook and then pinned to the ground with a pitchfork. A cross had been carved into his chest, and his death was to believed to be part of possibly satanic ritual that happened just 2 years after Bella's remains were discovered. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so
That's
it's
not
been
long.
proposed that like it two kind of strange occult related murders happened within the same kind of area in a similar time period, like just a few years apart.
Yeah, it was very brutal. I remember that. I
Yeah,
did find it. It was episode 22. This
episode 22.
one's a bit dodgy. Yes.
Oh my god, almost 100 episodes ago.
Right?
Wow. It was
I
99
thought it was
episodes ago.
something dodgy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Um
Okay, that's why. Yeah, because yeah, you asked, and then I thought that you were covering it for a minute or something, and then you're like, no, no, and I was like, oh, okay. And I
Yeah,
just
well, I
was
was like,
excited to hear.
I remember you talking about a pitchfork, and then I was like, when I kept reading about this one, it kept talking about his case too, and then it got me
Mhm.
wondering, like, this one sounds familiar, and I was like, I have to ask you, like, did you actually cover this? Like,
Right? Yeah, no, it should
yeah.
sound familiar, but like, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so go back and listen to that one, because that's like a whole fascinating craziness.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was that one. I think that one was unsolved also. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Mm.
Another things, this one doesn't have too much for it. Theory in 1953. This one revolves that, namely, the victim was a Dutch woman named Clarabella Dronkers, and she had
Oh,
been killed by a German spy ring consisting of a British officer, a Dutchman, and a music hall artist for, quote, knowing too much. It said available
wow.
records and evidence are unable to support the story. So that's fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
why those that specific like trio of people or whatever killed by a
yeah.
something, a music hall. I'm like, what?
Yeah, a British officer, a Dutchman, and a music hall artist. Then they're all apparently German spies. But those are their cover stories, I guess.
Yeah, you get like the two guys' careers, but the other guy's just a Dutchman.
Yeah. Well,
It's
she's
like,
just a
okay.
Dutch woman, so yeah. The
Oh,
victim was a
yeah.
Dutch woman. Like,
Mm,
okay.
right.
Um
Yeah, we
another
just don't know. It's not cool.
Oh, yeah, so that's kind of all the theories. I did find this kind of interesting. That in 2014, the BBC asked a group of researchers at Queen Mary University in London whether statistical reasoning could actually help solve the mystery of who put Bella in the Wych Elm. Given the
What?
number, I know, I thought this was so crazy. Um, Especially because we had just talked about Deadliest Warrior and them
Oh
doing
yeah.
that probability of how many battles out of 1,000 somebody could win, because they
Oh yeah,
basically
that
did
like
that.
simulator thingy, yeah.
Yeah, they basically did that with this. So they said, given the number of hypotheses, the related pieces of uncertain information, the team settled on using a probabilistic technique called a Bayesian network. The model found it
Sure.
was 99% likely that the cause of death was criminal, and 97%
Yeah, probably.
likely that Bella was not British. The researchers list a number of caveats with their methods, but ultimately the report found a 33% likelihood that Jack Mossop was involved in her death, and a 7% probability that it was some intelligence service. It gave the
Huh.
possibility that Bella was a spy at about 25%, and a 16% chance that she was a sex worker. So that's kind of like how it broke down. I thought it was kind of
Uh
interesting that they were
it is, yeah. It's like
able
throwing
to do
something
that.
into yeah, throwing something into like AI or like Chat
Yeah.
GPT nowadays. It's like they're like, well, we think it's probably this because there's this many hits about this name and that name and
Yeah.
but like it's yeah, pretty sure it was criminal. Yeah.
Yeah, 99% sure it was criminal.
Like so am I.
Um
But like,
97% likely that she wasn't British. So,
huh,
even if she had
yeah.
just been like a tourist or something, or just in the area. Um
Yeah, not sure.
I don't have too much more. These were just kind of like little things I thought was interesting that I ran across. In his book, The Case That Foiled Fabian: Murder and Witchcraft in Rural England, Simon Reed recalls a conversation between the professor. I think that was like, who was the professor?
I
I
opened
don't
it.
know who. Oh, I can't
Sorry.
remember who the professor was supposed to be. But it was between them and
Oh, okay.
a local reporter in which she summed up her theory, saying, quote, "The very act of placing a body in the hollow of a tree is associated with witchcraft." And she also said the
Really?
cult of, yeah, I hadn't really heard that before. I always thought it was like more of like a rebirth, like pagan kind of thing. Um,
Oh, okay.
kind of
I hadn't
like
heard much about it, to be
basically
honest.
I thought it was always kind of like a kind of planting somebody at the base of a tree, like fertilizing the tree with their soul or whatever kind of thing.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Could
Yeah.
be.
She also said that the cult of tree worship is an ancient one and that it's linked with sacrifice. So like maybe it could have been a sacrifice type thing. Hi
Yeah.
Gordo, go away.
Sorry.
Um
Yeah. Sacrifice. Okay.
Oh, here's one of the random tidbits about her hand or arm or whatever, saying one of her arms had been left 13 paces from the skeletal remains, and these 13 paces is an ancient custom used when a witch is executed. That's what one of the sources said.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've never
like the
heard that
13.
about a witch being executed.
Yeah. So like maybe she was a witch and then was like executed, stuffed in the tree, and then like her arm was like severed and left 13 paces away.
It seems to me historically most witch killings have been much more public and stuff, but
Yeah.
not
That's
always.
what
If
I
it's like
thought.
witch on witch violence, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. Something.
According to anthropologist Professor Margaret Murray, who was developing a theory that witchcraft was involved, it was noted that the plant belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade and witch hazel, were both
Woohoo.
widely associated with the occult. And
Oh, it's
according
also
to
called witch
local,
hazel. Okay.
um,
That's a cool
no,
name.
it's separate.
Oh, okay, you're saying and witch hazel.
Yeah, belladonna and witch hazel. According to
Oh.
local legend, Hagley Woods is also associated with the occult. And
Mm.
so the fact that Bella was entombed inside a tree rather than being buried was also indicative of a ritualistic slaying, according to Professor Murray. And the theory that Bella was executed for some crime against a coven quickly gathered steam and remains a favorite theory even today. Investigators working on the case, however, dismissed the theory, declaring that the bones from Bella's hand had simply been scattered by animals. Um,
Yeah, that's can
yeah, so they
happen. It could
kind
have
of
been,
say
yeah.
that, like, the Bella in the thing, like, who put Bella in the Wych Elm, that, like, maybe that has to do with, like, Belladonna or something. Or,
Seems like a
like,
stretch, but yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing really to go on. It's the problem.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, none of these theories are ever really that great.
Right,
Um,
right, right. We don't have like a concrete or a strong lead other
yeah.
than like one suspect. Yeah.
So we may never get the answers to the real identity of Bella since both the remains and all the medical records, it seems, like autopsies and stuff from that time have all vanished. It
Mm.
said, however, armchair detectives have now begun to move more towards the occult theory, stating that the likelihood that two similarly weird murders, that of her and like Charles Walton, could remain unsolved after so long while being thought of as connected is like unusual. And as
Mm-hmm.
well as the strange appearances of this graffiti from what was described as a pretty law abiding country. Um, like it just keeps popping up. It seems kind of strange.
I guess.
Um,
It's
yeah.
a pretty petty crime though.
We're such law-abiding people.
We
We could
never
never graffiti anything
I
except a
have never put
200-year-old.
one graffito in my life on anything.
I haven't even put a single graffiti on anything. I've never even thought about it. Um,
I've never once
it's
graffitoed.
I've never even looked at graffiti. I don't support it. It
I
said,
don't know. I was gonna say something about I don't see any. colors, but no, I couldn't get there.
There was a case review that was done by West Mercia Police. It ended up being like closed out in 2014. Didn't really say anything.
Okay.
There was in 2018 an episode of Nazi Murder Mysteries for some reason
Oh.
that they said that a forensic facial reconstruction had been done by the Liverpool John Moores University's Face Lab using photographs of the skull. I actually found a couple of them. Looks kind of cool.
Okay.
Looks like there's like moss and stuff, but it's probably not moss. It's probably that bits of flesh and hair that they're talking about. But in my view, it looks like moss in the eye socket. But I choose to
Ooh.
believe it's moss because it's less creepy than hair. But
Ugh.
um so they used like this facial reconstruction using photographs of the skull. I think it's kind of what they use when they have remains and then somebody does like the clay over their bone structure. I think they kind of tried to do the same
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Cuz there is like a face that they've kind of released in the last few years of what they think she looked like, which is kind of interesting. Um
Those usually are, well, especially the ones with the clay and stuff. At first, they
yeah,
look very rough.
it's not a great picture. She
Yeah.
but yeah, it's better I guess than nothing. So this was released
Right.
in May of 2023. The BBC launched an appeal to museums to track down the remains with the intentions of doing DNA analysis, like now that that's available. Because the
Okay.
remains had actually been supposedly at Birmingham City Police's Black Museum at their training center till the late 1960s or 1970s. So
Hmm.
they basically had reached out to them being like, where's her remains? We'd like to do DNA. Maybe like ancestry, like with people doing all those like 23andMe things. Maybe we can find somebody
Yeah.
related to her and try and figure this out.
Yeah, genetic
So,
genealogy, all that jazz.
yeah, in a statement to a local newspaper in 2018, a spokesperson revealed that they can find quote no documentation that may relate to this case at either of the West Midlands police museums. So they actually don't know where her remains are, which I kind of mentioned before. Like they don't know where the medical records are, and they don't know where her remains are anymore.
Oh, so sad.
Um, yeah, like so around this like 2018, maybe it was 2023, an appeal was made at the same time as the BBC was releasing.
2018, 2023.
No, I meant like 2018 or 2023. I can't remember which year. This appeal
Okay.
was made at the same time as the BBC was releasing a podcast on the case and about like trying to locate her remains so that they could do this DNA testing.
Oh, okay.
Um, and the podcast episode or series that they made about it was called The Body in the Tree, which I kind of
Oh.
liked because they didn't use. I feel like everything uses like who put Bella down the witch elm or in the witch
Mm-hmm.
elm. I'd never
They
heard of
do.
The Body in the Tree before.
Yeah. And we don't even know if it's Bella, so.
Yeah, like we really have no idea.
Right.
Um, yeah, but that's really like everything I could come up with when I was looking this up. Um,
Wow. It's a
yeah,
big
it was
it's a big case. I knew there'd be like a lot because there's always a lot of theories for these types.
yeah, like I always found this one really fascinating from the first time I heard it. I don't think any of the theories are very good. Um,
Yeah.
I do hope like they're at least able to find her remains somewhere and then we can get the figured out like at least her identity.
I know,
um
because that's like all they had. You
yeah,
you
like
had one body, guys.
it's pretty crazy that
Yeah.
I mean I'm sure it happens more than we'd ever like to think about like people basically being lost and never identified. But
Yeah, that's one of a lot of people's greatest fears for sure. Just,
yeah,
being totally forgotten. Like, nobody wants that. So,
yeah. Well, we haven't forgotten. Like we
mhm.
want to hopefully at least figure out her identity, so somebody
You
out
never
there
know.
can figure out what happened to their loved one that I'm sure has been like kind of talked about in the family, has gone missing or something for like decades,
Yeah, yeah.
almost 100 years.
Well, you never know. I listened to um one of our dark cast compatriots today. It was on weird true crime,
Ooh.
and they just had a little update what's going on in true crime world, and someone got arrested in the murder of Tupac.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I was like,
That
wait, what?
that's
Like,
crazy.
is this old? Am I looking at an old episode? Like, that can't be right. I was like, and
No.
I don't know. Apparently, it's like the only person, like, even alive that was ever one of like the suspects still. Like, everyone else is like
Wow.
dead. I don't know. I didn't,
That's crazy.
but it's just like, yeah, if that from that was decades ago now, too, you never know. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Yeah, this
But,
case has always fascinated me from the first time I heard it.
hmm,
So I thought it'd be cool to cover,
same.
even though I'm sure like lots of our listeners have heard it. I really enjoyed. I feel like sometimes when you listen to something, you retain some of the information, but when you have to cover it yourself and you're the one typing the notes and everything, I feel like you absorb and like pay attention to it a lot more.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Or you hear something covered by two different people and they do it in two different ways. So you're like,
Yeah.
well, that angle wasn't there. Or like, I didn't get this tidbit from the other guys. So it's
Mhm.
always interesting. Yeah. A lot of times
Yeah.
I will listen again if I know something. I'm like, okay, but I like these guys. So like I'm sure people don't care
Right?
if they have heard it, if there are loyal listeners. Yeah, I'm sure they won't mind.
Yeah. I was happy to cross it off my list though, because it's been on my list basically since we started.
Yeah,
When I
that's a
first
good
started
one.
writing.
Like for right
Yeah.
now too. Like it's very true crime, but also it's unsolved. So then you get the mystery and then the elements of the
Yeah.
the supernatural, the occult, the unexplained, like the whole it's got it all. Like
Yeah, it's just very weird. Like, yeah. Well,
yeah, that was a good one for this. Yeah, I like it. I
yeah.
approve this case.
For
Did a good
Spooktober,
job.
it was a good one to pick. But
Fuck yeah.
well,
Ghosty season is here.
we'll take a short break and then we'll come back for
Yeah.
Alanna's case. I'm so excited.
Yes, but please listen to these independent podcasters. Listen to our Darkcast promo coming up.
Mhm.
Welcome back. Gordo is currently being good. We have started the recording.
Oh,
Things are happening on time. I don't know. It's good. I overran on my notes as per usual. There was like ugh, this one. It was a lot. Um. I okay. So yeah, I was trying to find something, and I like just wasn't sure what to Google with the theme and stuff like that. But there was one that
yeah.
I I don't know. Yeah, it was so sometimes it's a little bit hard, but I thought I had
Mhm.
heard about this one somewhere, and then that's why I asked you if we talked about it because it came up like the astrological murders, and I was like, that sounds familiar, but also like it
Yeah.
sounds like Zodiac.
Yeah,
Uh,
the
yeah.
one I had said was just that like the New York Zodiac killer I had covered was doing
Hmm.
like the zodiac signs. kind of, it seemed, of his victims, but
Right. And you probably
uh,
brought that up when we were deciding on the cases or something. Because I
yeah.
thought you had brought up some zodiac or something astrological. You know what I mean? Because they're kind of interchangeable, like in those
Yeah, because
words. But yeah.
that was the only thing that came to mind about anything in that sort
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. So no, I'm not going to cover the zodiac murder because never. No, there's too many movies and stuff about that I don't need to do
Yeah,
it.
go watch the what Robert Downey Jr. and fucking Mark Ruffalo
Yeah,
and
it's two of the Avengers. So,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think I like that
and
one.
fucking
Hmm.
what's his face? Jake Gyllenhaal. Is that Jake
Oh,
Gyllenhaal?
okay, yes. I'm pretty sure because
Um,
that's usually who people reference when they talk about it.
one of my is it David Fincher? He's the director, right? He's one of my favorites.
Could be.
He, I think that was who did it. I really like those. He did that in Seven and Nocturnal Animals and something else.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't know, but this one surprisingly has no movies made about it.
Well,
Probably because I
we
know.
can't do it then. All we talk about is movies, Alanna. We can't do it then. Not allowed.
But it's sad because I think they get like the different victims they get lumped in with the Zodiac killer victims a lot of the times, which is weird, I
Okay.
think. Although I looked them up to
Huh.
be like, okay, but like they're not, right? None of them the same names. And I like looked them up and I was like, no,
Oh,
it, like,
weird.
I don't know. I think there was just a lot going on in California during the 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
that maybe even like that there was more active than we knew. I don't know. I was just
Yeah,
listening to
I'm
like,
sure there was.
oh yeah, and there's like now things going on. I was listening to it was either Let's Not Meet or Odd Trails because they both have the same host guy, and I remember him saying it. Oh, it must have been Odd Trails because that's the one where he talks to his friend there, and when they've done the scary stories, and he
Hmm.
said that there was like a Sacramento like shooter guy on the loose, and he's like, "Did you hear there was like or yeah, I think it was Sacramento, somewhere in California, right? Like."
Wow.
And this was like not too long ago, so it was kind of like, oh no, I didn't know, and blah blah blah. And it's like you don't hear about the active ones. I don't know. It's just always creepy to think about. But
Yeah.
you like to think of them all as like caught and stuff, but that's only because those are the ones we have the names for and stuff.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Ugh,
That's why
it's
sometimes you
awful.
can't focus so much on all the unsolved ones, because then you get
Yeah,
too worried that nothing ever gets solved.
I
Because
know. I don't know how miss like the people that do unsolved ones do it. Like Misty Mysteries. I've listened to a bunch of hers lately, and like a bunch of them are unsolved and stuff. And so it's like that's
wow.
tough.
I couldn't do it because
Be
then I
hard.
don't sleep at night because I'm like, oh, there's so many people that have
Hmm.
murdered people that haven't been caught in the world. All of them are gonna break into my house at 2 a.m. and kill me.
Oh God. Did well, we won't go off on another movie tangent, but go if you haven't watched the trailer for something called "No One Can Save You." No One Can Save You. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Oh, I haven't
Looks
heard of
pretty
that.
horrifying. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
I
I'll
don't know.
watch
The
it after
tagline
this.
starts out about like a break-in or something, but then it's just like the trailer
No.
just goes off the rails. Like, what is this
Oh,
about?
wow.
Anyway, okay, all right. We got just gotta buckle up because this is anyway. Just get to it. um, yeah, hard to find a lot, but so this is how they're described in the most major sources. One being literally the Wikipedia for the Zodiac,
Oh, shoot.
because
Wow.
it's one place where they had like them all together. Anyway, and then like how they have linked the sources so then you can
Yeah.
kind of see where that like if there's actually any other information about these people online. um So the astrological murders were allegedly committed by a suspected serial murderer who was also active in the same state and around the same time as the Zodiac.
Okay.
Police in Northern California made a tentative connection between a single culprit and possibly at least a dozen unsolved homicides that occurred between the late 1960s and early 1970s. All of the alleged victims were female and were allegedly, a lot of allegedly, sorry, in that one,
Yeah.
killed in
Allegedly, allegedly.
well, they were definitely killed, so I'm not sure why they're using that twice, but like a variety of ways: strangulation, drowning, throat cutting, bludgeoning, and occasionally after being drugged. They were linked by the
Hmm.
fact that they were dumped in ravines and killed in conjunction with astrological events such as the winter solstice, equinox, and Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll say they're tentatively connected. So it kind of, if you've ever heard about like the alleged smiley face killers or killer,
Yeah. I've
because
heard about
they're,
it a little bit. I never seem to
yeah,
remember the details of that one.
well, basically being that there's a bunch of bodies, usually of men who drowned, and they're sometimes near a smiley face, like graffiti. It's back to the a graffito of a smiley face. I'm sorry. Just to get to it. But yeah, and then so people don't know if it's
Okay.
actually a serial killer or not because they could just be unconnected cases that just so happen to be near that type of graffiti or whatever.
I think I only ever looked that case up, or like suspected kind of like murders up, because of The
Hmm.
Mentalist, because in that one there,
Oh.
what's his face is trying to, it involves somebody who always leaves a smiley face.
Oh, so
I
you
don't know,
not
I watched.
haven't heard about it on a podcast or anything?
No, I listened to like, well, they did, I think the smiley face they did actually on Crimes and Consequences, but I don't really remember the details of that. It might have been late at night and I was doing the dishes, so I was only half paying attention. Um,
Yeah. Well, there's not even a lot to go
but
on, really. It's basically
yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
That's maybe why I only like vaguely have heard of it before.
Yeah, but some people think it's like a conspiracy,
Hmm.
that it could be a cop cover up because it kind of spreads around the Midwest, United States and stuff.
Okay.
So,
Weird.
right? Yes, then it comes back to one single sinister graffito of a smiley face. Why? Don't besmirch the smiley face.
Of the poop emoji on the side of a building.
Oh no. Um,
Oh,
okay, so
can you
there was a
imagine if a, sorry, if a case
sorry.
ever got called the poop emoji murders? Can you
Oh
imagine?
God. Well,
It'd be awful.
and that's kind of a case for saying calling them the smiley face. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
it's flippant, if not outright. It's not just maybe outright disrespectful, but
Yeah.
it's it's not great.
No.
Yeah, poop emoji. That would be infinitely worse.
I'm just picturing the one from that guy we talked about in Petty Crimes, the Hanksy guy, when it's that
Oh,
Trump, the Trump poop like graffiti that has his hair and
yeah.
everything. And he has flies
Oh
buzzing
God.
around him. That's what I think of when I think the
Yes.
poop emoji murders. I think of them
And
using that.
you used that for the
Yeah, the
episode art.
thumbnail. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love it
was it
so
Hanksy?
much.
Okay, yeah, because I remember it was
Yeah,
a Banksy type, right?
yeah. It was Hanksy, the one that always does Tom
Okay,
Hanks references as well, as much as he can, I guess.
Tom Hanks doesn't mind.
It's great.
um, Anywho, there was at least another, like one website that had a list of the victims at least,
Hmm.
um, and it said that it was around 9 victims total, but
Okay.
with a possible 6 more going up until like December of 1973. However,
Okay. So it's like listing less, but then saying, but there could be even more.
It's not a definitive list at all. We'll say that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just yeah, it does make me sad. Um so um yeah, some of them, like I said, they happen on they'll happen on a solstice or near an equinox. Um but it was a variety of women. The first, well, I think the first, I don't know if I have them exact order of like chronological, but was called the first one was Cosette, I think is how you say it, Ellison. And she was actually dropped off by her bus driver, like the school bus driver, or yeah, she was really
Oh,
young,
okay.
and like he saw her walk up her driveway and even get her mail, but he was the last person to ever see her.
Wow.
So yeah, that one was shitty. And the bus driver had noticed a man sitting in a truck near to the residence. And then on his return journey, which was only about 10 minutes later, the truck had apparently edged closer to the driveway of the Ellison household, but he saw no one sitting inside the truck. So that was weird.
Hmm. Pulled up and then gone in the house, probably.
Right? Because her parents actually returned really not that long later, like around 4 p.m. only. And that's when they noticed that her school books and her and like the mail that she usually would bring in, because she
Yeah.
was seen getting the mail. She probably did it every day, and they weren't there.
Hmm.
Um, and a little more I found on that one was that there had been reports of schoolgirls being followed around this time, often following school buses, with attempts to get inside the home of these young girls by saying he had broke down and needed to use their phone. Um, and the previous abductions of Elaine Louise Davis and Lorna Laurel Roberts in 1969 are reminiscent of this young girl's disappearance and are within the same areas. So that quote touches on a couple of the other girls that are on my list.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
got like kind of a ruse that they're using, maybe, to get into the homes.
Yeah, and they're like found in very similar areas, like
Okay.
ravines, ditches, gullies, like
Wow.
yeah. Um in this area they're the homes are very rural. They're very rural jurors. No, but they're like far between, so it makes it easier to abduct somebody. Um and then her body was found on January 1st of 1971 in a ravine of the Mount Diablo foothills, sorry. Foothills. um near a place called Clayton. So no cause of death was given at that time, and it had been nearly a year since she'd been gone, so it was tough to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that really
Wow.
sucks.
Yeah. Did it say
Um,
how old she was? Like what grade or anything? Do you remember?
I don't know if I have her age in this one, but she was a schoolgirl, so I think she might have been only 16 or 17.
Probably at the
Because
oldest, yeah.
yeah, because that's the same my next one was. I'll double check. Sorry, there's like I said, not a lot, but if it's on one of the main ones and I just didn't write it down, I'll. What is it? Alice Unsolved. Oh, there's some young. Um. Okay, sorry. She was 15.
Okay. Wow.
She was only 15. Yeah, it fucking sucks. Um, and apparently, some have speculated that this murder was the work of one serial killer called Philip Joseph Hughes Jr., who is already serving a life sentence and has not been officially charged with this crime. So that's, you know, they've speculated
Hmm.
that it's alleged. Um, but it was been pointed out that it's near the timeline of the Golden State Killer's crimes also, so he would have been active, I guess, around
Oh, yeah.
maybe around beginning, or maybe it's just before his time. So like, who's to say? Like,
Yeah.
um, And they still might have some blood evidence, I believe, in this case that could help them. Because I think it could belong to the killer, so might be solvable. You never know. Hopefully.
Yeah. That'd
That's
be
all I have on
nice.
that one. Yeah. Um, it's so hard because there's some so long ago too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff that was linked was literal. Somebody went online and put the actual like newspaper articles. Like, you know, you could tell
Yeah.
it was like the physical newspapers that had been like scanned. Yeah.
I like those. I see those a lot of times,
Yeah.
and I try and include like the pictures, sometimes even if the original article maybe was kind of later disproven. It's sometimes nice to
Oh
see
yeah.
what was put out like right away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's tough though when it's like you're trying to read it and it's like really small print and it was on this like scan page and I'm
Yes.
like, this is my source and I'm trying to like read this old
Oh,
newsprint.
that's awful. No, I don't. I don't. I normally will read kind of what it says, but I normally don't have to use it as a source. So that would kind of suck.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that'd be
know. I don't.
difficult.
I think this might have been one of the first times, yeah, where I was like literally squinting so hard.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, so the next one that's included um, on my list is a lady named Elaine Louise Davis. Kind of reminds me of Elaine Bennis on Seinfeld,
Yeah.
but not really. So she was murdered in 1969, and she was then buried as a Jane Doe in a Santa Cruz cemetery. And she was only
Okay.
17 when she died. Yeah, she was also very
Wow.
young. She was actually only identified through dental records in 2001.
I'm happy they figured it out. Just like
Yeah.
they were talking with mine, like sometimes it's the ancestry and people like putting
Hmm.
in stuff or
Yeah. Well, this one I have a little bit more on how they did it.
sweet.
Yeah. So, Elaine Davis had disappeared while most things said babysitting her sister, so her 3-year-old sister. Other things said she was
Hmm.
just babysitting another kid, I guess. But regardless, she was just at their home in Walnut Creek, and then she just was gone. Where like the parents got home and there was no signs of a struggle scene, and the only like trace they could ever find was this tiny little button found in the backyard, and she had been planning to sew a button back onto her coat. It was that button. Like that's all they found.
Oh. Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, that's all they found until 2 days later they found her coat on the side of the road on Highway 17.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're like, that's not good. um
No.
I'm sorry, yeah, and I keep making it sound like they didn't ever find anything ever else again, but they found her body too. Allegedly. No. They found her body. Well, at least they
Maybe it
did
was a
find most of
mannequin.
it.
It's always a
Maybe.
mannequin until it's a body.
Okay, but we're getting to, yeah, exactly. We're getting to how it took them a while to find who she was. So
Yeah.
on December 19th of 69, authorities found the body of a female floating off Lighthouse Point. Investigators mistakenly estimated the age of the victim as 20 to 25 years old. Um, so I guess, yeah, not the right age because she was only 17. But yeah, it can happen. They can misidentify things like that easily, right?
Yeah.
But as a result of this, Walnut Creek police never believed that this victim was Davis. And last year, Walnut Creek Police Detective Lou Doty was reviewing Davis's case as part of the department's regular examination of old unsolved cases. Doty noticed in the case file a reference to the body found in Santa Cruz, as well as a dental x-ray belonging to Davis. He checked with criminalist Paul Holes of the Contra Costa Crime Lab. Save that 5 times fast.
No thanks.
Contra Costa Crime Lab, who told the detective that methods for estimating the age of a victim were less precise in 1969. End quote.
I would assume it had only improved. So I
Right?
concur.
Yeah.
Hopefully, all science gets better
Yeah,
as
yeah.
60 years passes.
Yeah. So then they exhumed the body and tested the teeth, and it confirmed
Hmm.
Elaine's identity. And
That's
she was just
good.
presumed strangled as there was some damage to the cartilage. But that's basically all they know about how she died.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, at least she got identified. Um, then there was the other lady they mentioned in connection with the first girl, Cosette. This lady's name is Leona Laurel Roberts, which has a really nice alliterative ring to it, I think.
Yeah.
Leona Laurel. Um, she was abducted on December 10th, 1969, from her boyfriend's Tormey Avenue Rodeo residence, and then found 10 days before the winter solstice on the beach at Bolinas Lagoon in Marin County on December 28th, 1969. Uh, she was found naked. She was only 16. Ouch. And
Wow.
the official cause of death was listed as exposure, but
No.
I think they just couldn't quite figure out what the cause of death was, sadly. Yeah, her name like comes up a few different websites, but I couldn't find any more details on her.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd love to see if someone else has covered it on a podcast now that I have. I don't think I specifically looked, but I may have because I was like hurting for sources. But don't worry, I still got like freaking 9 pages or something crazy like that
Oh my
somehow.
god. That's a lot for
There's
you.
well, there's like 9 people or some shit. Like in most,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fair.
in most, I was gonna say most sources, in the two sources or whatever, there's at least 9.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, and these like they're killed alone, which is different from what I recall from the Zodiac, because his were
It's
always
like
listed in pairs.
couples and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, or at least two. Yeah, a lot of time 2 people together. Yeah. Um, there was the next victim was Patricia Ann King. She was attending, or she arrived at the Diablo Valley College in Pleasant Hill for a 7 p.m. gym class on March 5th, 1970. And then people said she left after the first hour. I'm like, oh my god, how long is the yoga class? That is that like halfway through that she left
The
after the
first
first
hour.
hour?
And people are like, ah, you didn't even finish. It's only been at this for an hour.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm like happy if I get in 10 minutes of it. So um but anyway. Her boyfriend had been expecting her home around this time because she left at 7:50 p.m. they know. But she wasn't home by 8:15, so he became concerned. And then her body was found the following morning at 7:20 a.m. by a workman, I don't know. That's what it said.
Working for the
Um,
man.
workman named Ernest Ellington in the DVC Vikings football stadium, and she had been strangled with her own leggings.
She was found in a football stadium.
Yeah,
That's a little weird. I feel like they'd have security and
it
stuff.
may have been more specifically a parking lot, but
Okay.
of
I
the
was like, how
stadium
do
or
you sneak a
something.
dead body into the middle of a football stadium?
I feel like this one, somebody was even trying to figure out based on the old reports where stuff was then when it was a different, like the campus was different or something. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, this is,
yeah. That's a lot.
yeah, sorry. So I was confused. So I don't really know. Yeah. But they did know that, or, okay, so yeah, they found her car. Quote, the newspaper report stated a purse, handbag with her identification was found on the front seat of her car in a lot adjacent to the stadium.
Okay.
So the car was okay near the stadium. Um, A pair of leather sandals were on the floorboard. Her car keys were found in the Pleasant Hill campus parking lot Friday afternoon. Detective Sergeant Sam Ginsburg said. It was impossible to tell at this time if the girl knew her slayer. There was no reason for her to go into the stadium area, coming to or from the parking lot to the class. And I just said that it's unclear whether she was raped or not, because in some of these cases it would appear like they were, just from how they're found and stuff. But
Okay, I was kind of wondering.
yeah, when I tell you it's frustrating trying to research. I'm sure it was frustrating trying to investigate with the methods they had at the time too. But yeah,
Yeah,
it sucks.
a lot more difficult even than it is now.
Oh yeah, like, and to say they were overwhelmed when we talk about all the
Yeah.
guys that were up and coming killing people at that time. Like,
In
holy
that
shit.
decade, like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Did they have
There
like a
was,
freaking club or something?
yeah. Just be like, hey, you got like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm gonna take
Serial killing
Monday,
club.
Thursday,
Yeah, yeah.
Sunday.
They got
Like,
their areas, like the gangs.
yeah. This is
So,
the Zodiac turf war, serial killers, turf
ugh.
war.
Well,
The
speaking of the Zodiac, yeah.
serial kill each other, Dexter style.
Oh my God. Or like, um, battle royale style, or the condemned, anything where they're just like pitting a bunch of people just against each other, or kids, or killers, whoever they may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mayhem. Okay, so one last thing on what are we talking about? Patricia. God, it's so hard. One last thing about Patricia is that this guy that wrote there's a lot of books about the Zodiac, Graysmith. I think it's Richard Graysmith, but right here I just have his last name. Noted her as a possible 12th victim of the Zodiac killer. So he thinks she's
Okay.
connected, whether just from proximity or what, I don't know. Um, there's one or two where there's actual, like, they're like, oh, this thing is what the Zodiac, and that's how he mentioned this one. But most of them, yeah, they're not connected to him. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get it.
Because you're right. I always like picture him with like the couples or killing the pairs of people.
Yeah,
So yeah, these ones seem kind of out of
like,
place.
yeah, killing the couples, literally like the lover's lane style, and then like one time he
Yeah.
scratched the thing right into the side of the car, and like he was way more, I don't know, brash about it, or like he doesn't hide, I guess. But the next one was named Judith Ann Hakari, and she was last seen leaving the Sutter Medical Center that she worked at on March 7th, 1970, around 11:30 p.m. And she called her fiance to say that she was on her way, but by 1:30 a.m. she still had not returned. So he checked the parking lot of the apartment and found that her car had arrived, but like she never had gotten in the
Aw.
apartment. Yeah.
Wow.
That one I was just like, "Oh my god, so close."
Yeah.
So they think this one was connected because it was 13 days prior to the spring equinox. Um, so that's why, I guess. But then she was found 1 month later by hikers in a shallow grave in the town of Weimar, which was about 43 miles from her abduction site. And
Oh,
she
okay.
was, yeah, she was 23. She's a little bit older than some of them, but still very young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, oh yeah, her car was found too. Like her boyfriend found it with signs of foul play, passenger door open, the keys on the floorboard, buttons scattered about, and like ripped strips of Canon brand towel, like paper towel, I guess. I don't know. And that was like that seemed to indicate that they might have been used to restrain her. And then they found the same style toweling um, when they found her body 7 weeks later at the burial site. So that provided a link between the locations. Um, and she had been found inside a canvas laundry bag, laying over a gray sweatshirt, savagely beaten in the face, strangled, and raped, with her bra torn in two and her underwear found beneath her.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh, what? I think we had a little bit more. Then detectives stated that on March 13th, 1970, 6 days after her disappearance, the owner of the land where Judith Hikari was eventually discovered noticed three sharply dressed men in their late 20s at the site with the trunk of their vehicle open and digging into the ground.
Oh. Okay then. Who are they?
Right? We don't know. They gave a lame excuse. It says their lame excuse of digging for bottles while suspiciously closing the trunk of their vehicle seemed sinister.
I'm digging for Coke cans because people bury those in their yards, don't they? That's how
Yeah,
recycling works.
right. And I have a car, not a friggin' shopping cart.
Yeah.
um, there's a very good reason to believe these three men were involved in the murder and disposal of Judith Hikari. At the very least, one murderer and two accomplices after the fact. With little to go on after 50 years, an examination of the abduction and burial site can reveal so much about this crime. That's from zodiacciphers.com.
Wow.
She was found on an extremely remote, hilly, and winding road of Ponderosa Way, and this was like near an old mine entrance, which I thought was weird. There was like a mine there and a river. It was almost like they wanted her to be found or something. Um, and then her like very nearby apartment neighbor was also killed, and her name was Nancy Benelak. And she was 28, and her Tahitian apartment building that she lived in, Tahitian Apartments it was called, I should say, was just 830 feet from Judith's apartment building. So it was really close. With that one, recent breakthroughs with genetic genealogy have identified Richard John David as her killer. Yay.
Okay. Yay.
But don't get too excited because he died of alcohol related illness in 1997.
That's fine. We still know.
I'm glad we found out, but I don't think he ever got to trial, sadly.
No.
This next one, she has a pretty name. Well, in one thing it was listed as Marie Antoinette Anstey.
Aww.
It's kind of pretty. Yeah. She went missing in Vallejo, California, which apparently is where the Zodiac was sort of known to operate. She had been hit on the head and then drowned, and she was found in a place called Lake County, California. And that was on March 21st, and traces of mescaline were found in her system when she was found, like, by the side of the road naked. So she had been drowned, but she was still by the side of the road, kind of like the others often were.
Oh, okay. So they
Yeah, it was
drowned
kind of
her and
weird.
then like transported her body somewhere else?
It would seem so, yes.
Weird.
That becomes a little bit of a recurring theme. It happens once again. Her car was found abandoned near Vallejo on the side of the highway. She had last been seen at the Coronado Inn, some 5 miles away from Vallejo towards Napa, at around 2 a.m. on March 14th, my favorite date. You know, I love to get that in there, and it just so happened to pop up.
Yeah.
She happened to be identified by her ex-husband, as well as they used her fingerprints, a ring that she had in a photograph, and her death was speculated to be drowning. But then they also thought that maybe it was shock due to drug toxicity. So I'm not too sure.
So they're saying maybe she wasn't killed?
Yeah, it seemed like they weren't too sure that it was just the drowning, but I
But
don't know.
like,
She was
if
included
it's
on this list.
due to drug toxicity, how does somebody drown and then be like, I died by drowning, but then magically moved my body naked to the side of a road.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's how that
Sounds
works,
like
right? And then
trying
I
to
died
close the
for
stupid
real.
case.
For real this time.
Right? Well, or like how, okay, so
What
one
the
other
fuck?
thing with the smiley face ones is that they're often men found drowned after drinking. So then a lot of times they just get written off as like,
Yeah.
accidental drowning. He was pissing in the lake, he fell in, whatever. Like, and you don't know, is
Yeah.
that this, an excuse or is it the real answer? It's like, I'm sure sometimes it is an accident, but yeah, this one, I
Yeah.
don't know about that. The drug tested, I'm like, whatever, that's okay. Sure it
Yeah.
was.
That's her cause of death, but also drowning, but also being murdered, and also being found on the side of the road.
Like, come on.
So weird.
Yeah, and they all go missing first. It's like, ugh. But okay, there's also, sadly, there's another one, Eva Lucienne Blau, who was found on the equinox on March 20th of 1970. She was also dumped into a ditch, like many of the others, this time near Santa Rosa. She had been seen last on March 12th, leaving Jack London Hall, telling friends she was headed home, and that she's just was walking the short route between like the student hall and her housing or her house.
Mm-mm.
And then she was discovered in a field at Grove's drying yard at about 9:30 in the morning the next day. She had been covered with a full-length woman's blue coat, which had been kind of draped over her body, where they had left her body after it had been dragged there. So she had been obviously dragged.
Wow.
Yep. Also, her blue turtleneck had been pulled up almost over her shoulders, and her skirt and underwear were pulled down to about her knees. So probably guessing sexual assault there from where
Yeah.
everything was. But her outfit did sound gorgeous. She had on knee-high suede boots too, and then the blue and the
Oh.
turtleneck and the.
Yeah, that's a look.
I know, 60s, 70s, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. She had a heart tattoo on her abdomen. She was found with what was described as a dent on her in her right jaw, on her jaw, a bloody nose, and
Yeah.
puncture marks on her under the chin, and bruising on her body. So tell me that doesn't mean someone, didn't inject her with something.
Puncture marks under the chin?
Yep. I
Weird.
think like needle marks, but I didn't find any
That's a
more
little
info.
weird under your chin. I thought it would normally go
Mm-hmm.
in like your jugular or whatever in the side of your neck.
Right, it's always to the side of the neck in movies. But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
then
not
with
like the
like,
nobody's getting stabbed in the chin with a syringe in any movie I've ever seen.
no, and even like with druggies and stuff, and from those kind of
Uh,
movies and things, it's like they'll do it between the toes if they don't want to get seen, it to get seen or
oh, that always Oh,
whatever. I know, right?
they did that all the time on the Nick, the one like doctor show when he works at the
Okay, the
Knickerbocker,
neck.
and then
Okay.
yeah, he always injects drugs in between his toes. Oh, I
Oh
hated it.
no.
And he does it all the time, and I hated every scene that it ever happened in.
Oh yeah, that would hurt.
Oh, it's just like, oh, I can't stand it.
Yeah, especially over and over again. Nope. That's
Yeah.
why you gotta be an addict to do something like that.
Yeah,
Oh
fuck.
man.
Nope.
um, yeah, this one's all kinds of fun today, hey? So Eva was survived by her three sisters, and her parents held a private ceremony, at the Walty Chapel of the Roses for her. Pretty name. Um, she was only 17 at the time of her death, and sadly had just started school at Sonoma State College. So it just really sucks. She had her whole life ahead of her.
Yeah.
Her friends heard about the body, and like one of her friends even came to ID her, like one of her school friends. But as soon as they heard
Oh.
about the tiny blue heart-shaped tattoo. I think she had a thing for blue, but I was just like, oh, that's really a horrible way to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. They described her as bright, beautiful, like able to usually handle herself in any situation. But of course, there's always something. We're none of us invulnerable. Um, oh, and then yeah, with this one, they even asked her friends if they were sure if she was 17 because the autopsy had guessed at her age to be 8 years older.
Wow.
Yeah, which I was like, oh, that harkens back to the other one where it's so easy to be like, well, it couldn't be this person because this one's 8 years younger or whatever, but they can be off sometimes, like in this case.
I mean,
Right.
I I think I basically was pretty well the height I am when I was 14
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
stuff. And like when I was before I was even 16, most adults thought I was in my 20s, which was
Right.
really weird. Like everybody thought I was in my 20s. And then
Yeah. Used to get stuff like that too.
yeah, like
Be
I
like,
just remember
okay.
even in elementary school, my friend and I, like, we hit puberty fairly early. So starting from like grade 3 and 4, we basically couldn't even wear sports bras. We were wearing like regular padded bras already in like grade 3 and 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
we were those two girls. It was like, yeah, like we basically hit puberty in like fucking grade 3.
great. What are they putting these
Yeah.
hormones in all these chickens for nowadays? The kids getting
Yeah.
puberty younger
So
and
like
younger. Yeah.
at that point, by the time we hit 14, it was like, yeah, like been in this for years
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. So I can picture that
Mm.
like certain people do hit like so young, but
Yeah, you
I
can't tell someone's age just by looking at them.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
difficult
Oh,
cuz yeah, I
yeah.
don't know
I
how
never,
different it
yeah.
was in the 60s kind of though, cuz the 60s and
Yeah.
70s though, cuz I feel like nowadays people are hitting it like early and earlier, and they're just
Yeah.
everybody seems to be like getting taller and taller too.
It's all that alien blood. Lemurian blood.
Yeah.
Gonna be like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't. Unless we're getting taller's fine, and hopefully we're getting less gross about talking about kids changing bodies. Oh, you
Yeah.
look like you're 20. How about you stop looking?
Right? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, my friend
yeah.
and I, it was my best friend. Anytime we were walking down the street, people would yell out their cars at us, and we were in like grade 5. And it
Right.
was like, this is
Welcome to
so
being a
gross.
woman.
Yeah.
It's your rite of passage. So yeah, they have trouble pinning down the age until they knew who she was, um, and also the exact cause of death. But she'd been obviously beaten, as they found signs of trauma on her face and stuff. So I'm not sure if it was like blunt force trauma that killed her or what. But it was noted that her wrists showed signs of being tied.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Yet, from some reports, it seems they were still entertaining the possibility that, like, she'd been a hit and run and that a car had dragged her body, dragging her clothes down at the same time, I guess.
In two different directions.
Yes, yeah, you're right. It's like a magic bullet.
Drags the pants down and the shirt up at the same time. That's how cars
Right?
drag, right?
And
From
then
the
we don't have to
waist.
look for the car killer. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, no, it's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah, it's like this bullshit. And then these people are just like, she was literally just studying for her upcoming math test.
But she didn't have any road rash, but she was dragged by a car.
Yeah.
Jesus.
She was drowned on land like the other one. Don't get it twisted.
Fuck's sake. A car
Oh my
drowned her when it
god.
hit her on the side of the road where no
Oh my
water was
god.
present. Fuck.
I liked in your case, she parachuted directly into the middle of the tree.
I mean, that's also
No.
one of the theories with DB Cooper that they brought up on
Oh yeah.
and it's one of my favorite episodes ever of BuzzFeed Unsolved because they talk about there's theories about him parachuting and he got harpooned directly onto a tree branch and that's why they never found him because he basically decayed and then his skeleton would have fallen apart and
Right.
just like dropped slowly to the ground or something. But they're like, can you imagine that
Yeah.
dude just like, I got away with it, woo, and then just onto a tree? It's
Basically,
like,
yeah. Well, they
it's
found
like,
some of the money,
wow.
so you never know. But
Yeah, they did, supposedly. So, yeah, like, what are the chances? So
I
weird.
know. He wanted it that way. No.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then there was Carol Hilburn, who was also found in a ravine, and that was on November 14th, 1970. And she had last been seen at Lloyd Hickey's 40 Grand Club in Sacramento that morning at 5 a.m. She was having a good time.
Wow.
um, so she had been like kind of left a lot like Eva, the last one had been. She had been beaten in the face, and then also her throat had been slashed. So that's different.
Yeah.
But she had been dragged through a field and left there. That was
Oh,
very
okay.
similar. Yeah. And she was undressed with only one suede boot and her underwear around one knee. So she was similarly,
Huh.
you know, mostly undressed. And she was found within 3 miles of Nancy Benelak and Judith Hakari's homes. And apparently another victim, which we haven't got time to talk about, named Denise Kathleen Anderson. I don't know. I don't think she's
Wow.
connected to these ones, but was in the same area.
That's wild.
It's crazy. I
They're
didn't.
just killing everybody, these freaking serial killers in the fucking
I
70s in
know.
this state.
And it sucks. It's like when it happens around times when people are, distracted by other big world shit going on. And they
Yeah.
just, not that people don't work on it, but there's just too many. They just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I barely have the time to talk about them. And like, it takes me like an hour to talk about these like freaking dozen people or whatever the hell, you know? Um, I think I just have a couple more though, but oh, yeah, this was also on the main list of most of them. Donna Lass, she was a nurse, only 25, who worked at the Sahara Hotel Casino, which I thought was weird that they had a nurse. They have a nurse on staff, I guess. I don't know.
Oh.
Must be a big hotel. And she was last seen on September 6th, 1970, around 2 a.m. In South Lake Tahoe. And her car was found in her apartment parking lot the day after her shift. So she had also made it home, like one of the first ones. I can't remember now, but
Yeah. That's so sad. You were
like
so
all the way
close to
home.
safety. Like,
I know. And then like you should be safe enough in your parking lot to get to your frickin' house, right? Yeah, so they knew she had left her shift at about 2, and then the next day, actually with this one, a mail caller phoned her landlord and employer saying that she would be absent and not returning due to a family emergency. So that was weird.
hmm.
Yeah. Um ba, 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 ba. This was just something I found on her case on the one website that said that nothing solid connects last to the Zodiac case. Although, like I said, a lot of these ones are kind of tried to lump in with that. Um, but she was, other than perhaps she was living just a few blocks from the scene of the Zodiac's October 11th, 1969 murder of Paul Stein in San Francisco. A postcard supposedly from Zodiac was received by the San Francisco Chronicle on March 22nd, 1971, with the implication that Lass was a murder victim. However, the postcard contained no proof, as Zodiac was known for including. In 1999, a retired detective revealed to me that a former Zodiac investigator had admitted to forging the last postcard.
How bored do you have to be to try and derail a fucking crime investigation?
I
Like,
know,
just
all this
awful
bullshit.
people. I hope they get fined for,
People
like,
off their track.
what did they call that?
Obstruction of, I don't know,
Yes,
justice.
obstruction, I think.
Yeah, because it's going to be something like that, right?
Fucking waste of resources.
Oh, yeah, I think this was the one that has a tenuous connection where people think that it has a connection to the Zodiac because of one of the ciphers supposedly pertaining to Donna's murder. Oh, it was like a cipher that showed up on her missing person reward poster. Oh, I should have included that one. That one, there was a picture of that cipher, but it is very confusing. I don't know. I could see how that last part of it could be her name because it, like the Donna last, like it had double looking letters in the cipher, I guess, but it was weird. I didn't really get it. I was like, okay.
Did they solve that one? Because they've talked about, like, how Zodiac, they haven't been able, have they not solved all the ciphers yet? I know they
person
solved
on this random website thought they solved it to saying, "Beware, I am stalking you, ... Donna Lass."
Well,
But I feel like
maybe
he said he had to,
accomplished
like,
because she's missing already, because you wrote that on her poster.
and he may or may not have said, well, those two triangles should have been turned upside down or something. And I was like, I don't get it. If it doesn't fit, it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else? I think I might have had a little more that said, well, there was another quote about it. Sorry. That said, on March 22nd, 1971, a postcard to the Chronicle addressed to Paul Averley and believed to be from the Zodiac appeared to claim responsibility for the disappearance of Donna Lass. Made from a collage of advertisements and magazine lettering, it featured a scene from an advertisement for Forest Pines condominiums and the text Sierra Club. Sought victim 12, peek through the pines, past Lake Tahoe areas, and around in the snow. The Zodiac's crossed circle symbol was in both the place of the usual return address and the lower right section of the front face of the postcard.
Because that can't be forged.
That was from the Zodiac? Yeah, I don't know. And maybe it was about her because it said peek through the pines, Lake Tahoe areas, but it's a bit of a
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they do link hers by saying that it's prior to the autumn equinox, so apparently that's why they think it fits in with the astrological theme. But her body was never found, apparently. Allegedly. Yeah, so there was like some crossovers and then a few more that were listed as being possibles on, like, say, part of the Wikipedia list, because, you know, like I said, some think it's 12, some think it's 9, up to a possible 15 of the sources. So
it's all over the place.
It's like, yeah, it could possibly include a Sarah Lynch who was found buried. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. Buried alive in sand by bottle hunters? I don't know. How would they know
More
she
of
was
those
buried
people,
alive in sand? Does that make sense?
unless they found her that way. Is it those dang bottle hunters again, digging for bottles with their stupid shovel and their pickup truck?
It said from Wikipedia, Susan Marie Lynch, 22, who was discovered murdered on July 31st, 71, buried alive in sand by bottle hunters near East Levy Road in Sacramento.
Oh,
Yeah, I
she
don't
must have been
know.
buried alive and then died and then was found by bottle hunters.
But 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 buried alive in sand. Is that a way to kill someone?
I
The weight
guess
of it, they
so.
just can't get out? My God, that sounds
It's that
horrific.
it's
That's
that
not the same
quicksand.
MO.
It's all the quicksand we were hearing about in elementary school that you thought was going to be like a big deal. They always talk about that. The amount of time
Well,
we talked about
I
quicksand.
know you can like bury someone up to like where they can't really move, I guess, in the sand. But
Yeah.
how could you do that while they were like they how would it be subdued somehow? I don't know.
Yeah. We said some of them might have been drugged, so maybe she was drugged a bit first.
Right?
Huh.
Um yeah, so that one and another one named Lynn Derrick was listed on the Wikipedia as being possibly connected to. But from their dates, they were in July, so I was like, I don't see their what equinox or whatever they were supposedly close to.
Hmm.
It doesn't fit the pattern.
Ah.
But my other source said that the six others that were tentatively linked by the Zodiac author Robert Graysmith. Okay, so these are the possible six others that might have gone on until December 1973 in one quick paragraph.
Oh.
The tally might end there, but author Robert Graysmith, ever seeking victims in his search for the elusive Zodiac, reports at least six other homicides that seem to fit the general pattern. Betty Clower, 21, was shot and beaten by her killer during June 1971. Her body discovered 2 days before the summer solstice. Then Linda Oleg, age 19, was found beaten to death at Half Moon Bay on March 28, 1972, 6 days after the vernal equinox. 18 days before the autumnal equinox in September 1972, Alexandra Cleary was beaten to death in Oakland, her nude body discarded like a broken rag doll. I don't know why they got that flowery on that one.
Yeah.
But Susan McLaughlin, 19, was stabbed to death and left without a stitch of clothing in March 1973, 18 days before the vernal equinox. Um, and finally, 19 days before the winter solstice in December 1973, Michael Shane and Kathy Fechtel were shot and dumped beside a road in Livermore. And that's the only ones where that's
It's a
two
couple.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only guy. So just to finish that quote, it says, coincidence, police are confident of a connection in at least the first 9 cases, hedging on the other 6 described by Graysmith. The answer to the question as to whether these last 6 additional homicides can be attributed to the perpetrator of the killer involved in the previous 9, much like the killer's true identity, remains a mystery. So, fancy way of saying we don't
We
know
don't
fucking
know
squat.
shit. Yeah. We don't know anything. They may be female. We don't know.
We don't know which ones are connected to which one, and after I just read all that, I feel like I have fucking red strings all over a
Yeah.
wall right
I'm
now.
Charlie Day, and this is my my bulletin board of chaos.
Oh my god, like reading that last quote because they mentioned him with the Zodiac, I had a moment where I'm like, no, but this quote is not talking about ones with the Zodiac, right? I was like, oh my god. I'm
Yeah.
so confused.
That's crazy.
It's, yeah, there's just a
Yeah.
lot, and they're like unsolved, and they're like similar.
Yeah, this one seems to like I wouldn't think it would be involved at all with the Zodiac,
The
but
Zodiac Killer, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it does seem like they're between like a lot of them being killed elsewhere and moved somewhere else and
Yeah, like there's a
drugged,
connection.
and then the times that they were found or the times that they were abducted, it does seem to be a little coincidental to be all in the same
Right?
state happening like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like it doesn't always come back to astrology. And like for the they were I don't get the whole well, they were found near this one, but like it's not like anybody
Yeah.
ever took ownership for that the way the Zodiac was like, call me the fucking Zodiac, because that's what I want to be known
Yeah.
for, you know?
Yeah, the one you said was like in the same neighborhood as two other girls.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that just seems more opportunistic or like that's his hunting ground or something.
yeah, right? He's just prowling the neighborhoods
Yeah.
for sadly like people coming home from school or getting
School
off
and
the
work.
bus and
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
The time when you're just like yeah, you're the most excited to be home. You're just maybe distracted. You're just like
Yeah.
ready
A
to get in the
long day. You
house.
want to go home, put your feet up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, wow.
You have to pee, me usually because my
Yeah.
commute's a little bit longer.
I almost
Yeah.
always pee like as soon as I get home.
And your
So I feel
drive's
that.
short.
Yeah, my drive is like 2 minutes. But I normally don't like I
Yeah.
won't go to the bathroom like before I leave work or anything, and I normally it's been at least a few hours since I went to the bathroom by the time I get home. So
Well, that's the kind of risky living you can do when you only have a 5 minute commute.
yeah,
I have to be like, oh my god, I have to pee before I go, and then I'll probably have to pee again when I get home, and especially if I hit a train or something, which
yeah.
I did twice on the way to work the other day. The first one was just like the engine, and then like the caboose. I was like, sweet, and then like I was like, oh no,
Oh,
I hit it again at the other spot, but now it's much longer.
oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it was shitty. Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that was crazy.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. I'm sure it's kind of hard when it's a lot of names and
Yeah.
stuff, but you know,
It's
they're all
good. It's
people
very
that,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, the people that still need their cases solved, and if they are connected, well, that's even creepier. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, next week is going to be pretty scary, but hopefully in a little
yeah.
bit of a different way, more of a scary stories around the campfire sort of way.
Yeah, we're going to be looking up some scary and creepy Reddit stories. Maybe some
I mean,
real, maybe some not real, whatever we feel like. And we're going to read them to each other. Uh,
yeah, I don't think we're doing the guessing one. Like, not like two. What did we do before? Two truths, one lie, a scary story edition. That was on Patreon, but that was we're
yeah.
gonna. Yeah, I was thinking I'd probably go on like Let's Not Meet and like a lot of those ones, like ghosts, the ones that
Mm,
have the real ones.
yeah.
But there's some fucking creepy pastas and stuff out there too, that sound
Yeah.
just like real ones, like the Russian sleep experiment. I've heard that covered on podcasts, like it's fucking real deal, and then it's like, oh, and by the
Yeah.
way, this was probably all made up. You're like,
Yeah.
cannibals? No,
Cannibals.
I don't know. I think
Cannibals,
that
man.
that one goes
Uh,
haywire. I can't remember, but
yeah.
my
There's
brain
some
is
creepy
mush.
ones. They do a good
Mhm.
series on the BuzzFeed Unsolved guys on their Watcher
Oh,
Entertainment channel. They have
okay.
a series called Are You Scared? And they read I think I had told you
Are
and
you
Pat about
scared?
it before. They used to do like true stories mixed with like the creepy pastas kind of that people would submit, or even stories
Okay.
that people had writ that weren't really creepy pastas but along that kind of same thing, and they would submit them
Nice.
online, and then they would read them, and at the end neither of them knew if they were true or not, and at the end they would try and guess like if it was true or not, but they kind of got away
Okay.
from it um doing any of
Hmm.
the real stories um and stuff as much. So now all of them are like fake stories or like creepy pastas that people have written.
Okay.
But they've
Okay.
done some really creepy ones. So maybe I'll see if I can find one of those. Maybe some of them
Yeah.
are really cool. I think you would enjoy it.
Yes. And like, yeah, horror, whatever, whether it be true crime sort of related or
Yeah.
more paranormal side, like as long as it's scary, we can
Yeah.
talk about it.
Because it's spooky season. It's October.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's the season of specters.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It really is. I'm decorating my house for Halloween tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Yes.
I'm off.
Oh, we should do Patreon videos at your house then. That reminds me. We gotta get going on some of those. We have like a
I
bunch of stuff lined up to like, we're like, we need to film this so we can do that
uh,
on Patreon.
yeah, I don't really have inside the house decorations for Halloween. I have like a few things,
What?
but most of it's for like my front windows and my front door and
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
All right, well,
Catch everybody next week.
till next time, keep it cryptic.
Bye. This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.